Hello everyone, this is Brian and welcome to Twilight Struggle Play the Experts, a game where I play high-rated players and see how I do. Today we're going to be playing the Turn Zero edition of the game, which is the special expansion which just got added on to the video game, I guess about a month ago. We'll look at that, so if you're a Twilight Struggle veteran, you may be getting to see this stuff, deciding whether you like it. Now, Twilight Struggle, you may not know, is actually, and it is now and has been for the last couple of years, my favorite board game in the world. It's kind of what I always dreamed Risk would be when I was a kid and I first saw Risk, and it doesn't bog down the way Risk does and you know, become a kind of just waiting for somebody to hurry up and get it over with kind of game. But it's got the huge map of the world and things move around and you have these domino effects, and the pacing is so amazing. It can go right down to the wire. Maybe we'll see that in this game. I hope we will. But it's also based in the Cold War, which was, a time I grew up, and so it has some, aesthetic interest to me there. Some more comments as we go in, but let's get in there and start this game up. So, I got an opponent here today that is rated, a good deal higher than me. He's rated in the 1882 range, so he beat me 4 or 5 consecutive times, when the original game came out. Now, because it's turn zero, I'm going to go with a bid of 0. Not going to bid anything for a side. If we were playing the regular standard rules, I would probably bid 1 or 2 to get to play the Soviets because I feel like they have just a slight advantage, and that seems to be the general agreement in the tournament world of this game. But there are some new cards, and we'll hopefully see them, and some new things in turn zero that I feel like kind of balance it out in favor of the U.S. So I'm just going to go with a 0, and we'll see what we get. All right, it appears that he too has bid 0, so it just randomized, and it decided I will be the Soviets. All right, well, I'm okay with that. I like being the Soviets. So the first thing we do in turn 0 is we do a series of these crisis cards, and there's 6 of them, and the first 3 of them kind of represent, I guess, how the end of World War II came out. They're kind of 1945-ish cards. And then the second 3 that we do, and within each group of 3, they're in a random order. The second 3 is kind of how the war, or how the immediate aftermath of World War II went in sort of the 1945 to 1950 range. It's things that happened right at the cusp of the Cold War that then is the stuff that we play out in the game. And the way we do this is we go through these cards, and we're basically just going to kind of roll a die, and it comes out 1 through 6, and there's 3 blue tinted cards that tend to kind of favor the U.S. in that a 4, 5, or a 6 is always actually a better result from the U.S. than the normal thing, and only a 1 is a better Soviet, and then like a 2 and a 3 is just what normally happens in the game if you don't play with turn 0. And this is an example. This Yalta and Potsdam card is an example of that. If we were to get a 2 or a 3, then it would be the normal situation. But on a 4, 5, or a 6, it's nominally good for the U.S. And I just realized that even though the screen said I was going to be the Soviets, I'm actually the U.S. here. So that's just a funny little bug in that bidding screen. Hopefully they'll fix that, but who really cares, because, it was a 0, so great, I'm the U.S. I'm happy to be the U.S. in turn 0. And so I have to decide which of these cards I've got. So I've got 2 + 1 cards, 1 + 2 card, a cancel his card, and a dummy card. And only the dummy card can I play more than one time. So, basically, I get to use that +2 one time in all these 6 cards. Now, he's got exactly the same numbers. I mean, they have different Russian-y names on them, because they were important Russian-y guys that did things. Like I think Beria is his cancel the guy card, and he's got, Andropov, and anyway, people like that. And so we each have to you get to push a little bit with, what you're going to do with these die rolls, but you're just kind of modifying at the edges, and maybe kind of leaning, and you don't get to see your hand first. I mean, personally, I think it would be cooler if you got to see your first turn hand, and then I'd know, oh, man, with this hand, I really want to go all in on Europe, or I really want to go in on Asia, but you don't get to see that. But what I really like about turn 0 is you don't need to play turn 0 if you're just getting into Twilight Struggle, because frankly, Twilight Struggle is so much fun. But once you've played it like 40 times or 400 times like I have, you might start to find the opening setup and the sort of traditional opening moves start to get a little stale, and you're ready for some excitement. And this provides exactly that. And my expectations were actually low here, because I was thinking, you're going to roll dice and then these weird different effects are going to happen where like the U.S. just gets the Marshall Plan, or the U.S. gets to go first in early war turns, or whatever. That's really random and it might not be balanced. And then I thought about it a few times and played the game, the turn 0 a few times. I realized, Twilight Struggle never actually guarantees a balanced game anyway. And if you go in the game and you roll a 1 on your first 5 coups, or your opponent rolls a 6 in his first 5 or 6 coups, well, really, honestly, the difference is not going to be that much if you had these weird, you had a really skewed result in this. And what you get in return is you get a different situation and different strategic considerations at the beginning of the game. And I think it's awesome. So let's see what we're going to do. I actually really like this card for the U.S. I really like to start with the Marshall Plan. It makes me feel really secure. I don't actually really want to go first in the first 3 turns, so I don't really need a 6. But I'm kind of thinking of going big here, going Marshall. I think we're going to just pop Marshall in there and try to get a big, good result on Yalta and Potsdam. All right, Marshall, do your thing. And we're going to find out what he's going to play back at us. And he has canceled our card. All right, well, good job, opponent. You have actually nuked my best card with your card nuker. And we ended up with just a plain old 3, which if he hadn't done that, if he'd done a 0 or something, then we would have gotten a good result. So now we're on to the UK election. This could postpone the effects of socialist governments or even get rid of the Suez Crisis for me. I'm kind of thinking I'm not as interested. And of course, I'm out of really good cards. All right, he went with dummy card as well, but we got a good roll. So he can't socialist government me. So he can't just pull all of the, pull a bunch of my influence all of a sudden surprise out of Europe and try to take Italy or something with it until at least turn 3. So that, that's a little bit comforting in the European department. I would have rather had the other one. But hey, I'll take a 5 for having played a 0 card. All right, and then it's VE Day, Victory in Europe. So this is the first red tinted card. This is a Soviet advantage card. So we need a 4 or 5 just to preserve the status quo. We'd certainly love to get a 6 and change the entire European scoring card in a new way. But, mostly we're just kind of hoping he doesn't overrun Austria or something. But I'm just going to go ahead and put this 0 here and hope he doesn't. Well, he overran everything. He advances past the LB, so he's going to have his own little he gets to set up a point in West Germany and a point in Austria. So, that's good for him in Europe. And now we come to Israel. Now, this is one, I love to get a good Israel race. This is another Soviet advantage. I mean, mostly these 1s and 2s and 3s are really good for him, but would I love to get to start with guys in Lebanon and Jordan and an extra one in Israel. I mean, that just sounds like a positive result to me, and I certainly don't want him getting a lot of extra stuff. So I'm going to cancel his card and hope maybe he played his big card, but we'll see. No, he played nothing. We canceled nothing. We are doing so well in the out-psyching our opponent card here. Well, fine. Well, we're down to 2 more cards and 2 more +1, so we're going to play +1 on both of them, come what may. We've got the Chinese Civil War here, which is the last U.S. advantage card. And let's see what he does. Okay, he went for a -2, but he did not manage to knock it down to a 1. And so we get a big fat bite of nothing on there, which is good because, we would not have really wanted the Ussuri River Skirmish removed from the game. Thank you, but no thank you, Russian people. All right, so Molotov, we managed to barely pull it out there, and that's how it's going to be. All right, and finally, VJ Day, and I think we pretty much know what he has. Yes, he has Andropov, and we have Atchison, and yet we have rolled a 6. Oh, my goodness. So, wow, on the first turn, Japan surrenders after the first bomb, remove the Korean War card from the game, and on turn 1, the U.S. ignores DEFCON restrictions, so I can just randomly coup places anywhere, and DEFCON can't go below 2, and well, that's pretty positive. I wasn't really going for that, but hey, we'll take a 6 on a Soviet card. Awesome. So that is our, with no with no credit to our epically not very good job of playing our little rock, paper, scissors card, we've achieved a reasonable result. We got 2 cards that are, we ended up with 2 cards that went the red way and 2 cards that went the blue way and 2 cards that went the gray way. So it is what it is, and now we have it's pretty balanced in terms of its overall effect there. We get some advantages in Asia. He's getting some advantages in Europe, and a little bit in the Middle East. And so let's see what we have got. Getting our first look at our hand. That is interesting. We've got some of the new cards in here. So First Lightning. Now that's normally a bad card. Play at the same time you play a card with a U.S. affiliate event. So that's it's for the Soviet, it's like a cancel some bad U.S. event you have in your hand and go ahead and play it without activating the event. So it gets it out of your hand and you get to use the opt. So that's a really good one if he has it. But here's the funky thing. Read that bottom line. Reduce the DEFCON by 1 if this card is played for operations or its events. Meaning this could be a real problem for us in that, if we just played it for the 2 ops and the thing activated, we could start a nuclear war and lose the game. The interesting thing, though, is we've got it at the beginning of the game while the DEFCON is 5. So I think that's going to actually, it's going to be easy to get rid of, and it's going to maybe give us some opportunities. And it's an asterisk card, so it's going to be removed from the game once we play it, as long as we don't send it to the space race. But I think I'll be playing that. DEFCON 5 First Lightning is that's great that we control that card. So yeah, I'm thinking that's excellent. Now Kremlin flu, this is just this card right here is one of the reasons I think that you don't have to bid extra influence to be allowed the honor of playing the Soviet Union anymore. The Kremlin flu is awesome. So basically, I'm going to headline this card. This is going to be my headline card, and it means that during headline phase, even, I'm going to take operations. So I'm going to get 2 ops as if it were played for operations. And then on his next scoring card, he has to play a scoring card. And if he doesn't have one, he just forfeits his round. And so if I headline this, he's going to forfeit turn 1, action round 1. I mean, for the Soviet, this is a blow for democracy here. This is just awesome. So, I guess it's like Nikita Khrushchev or Joseph Stalin just all of a sudden dies. I guess it's Stalin. He just dies really early at the beginning of the thing. He gets the Kremlin flu and yeah, we're gonna like the results of what's going to happen. But now we're waiting to see his setup, and he is doing okay. See, he's taking advantage of his horrible, awful thing that he made happen in Europe, which is that, see, he's got this little prod into West Germany, and he's set up very aggressively. So he's in Austria, he's controlling Austria and East Germany. So he actually has a huge, realignment advantage against West Germany on the first round. If DEFCON was 5 and it was his turn, he could just smash me with realignments in Europe, and this would be bad. Also, if I'm not willing to kind of stick it out there and fill some of these countries in my setup, then he can just score a domination in Europe if he's got the European scoring card. So this would normally put me, in a serious disadvantage situation, but those 2 cards I've got are gonna be awesome we're gonna make it so he's never gonna get a turn when it's at DEFCON 5. Just the Kremlin flu by itself is enough to make sure he can't get a turn at DEFCON 5. So my plan is going to be to headline Kremlin flu and then take ops right then to coup probably Iraq and lower the DEFCON to 4 before he even gets a turn. And then he has to skip his turn because of Kremlin flu and maybe just play some scoring card or maybe not. And then if I use First Lightning to coup in my first action round, I'll coup either Iraq again or, if necessary, North Korea, if that's all that's left, that's a battleground. And that will then lower the DEFCON 1 for a coup in a battleground and lower the DEFCON 1 for First Lightning. So then he will wake up getting his very first action round ever in action round 2, and the DEFCON's already 2. So he can't coup a battleground. So he can't coup me in Iran, which sounds to me like a pretty good outcome. So I'm going to do that. And I even have this Truman Doctrine, which allows me to, if I play it for the event, I can remove all of his influence in any one uncontrolled country in Europe. So if he gets too frisky in somewhere like West Germany, I can pound him. And in fact, I'm probably not going to set up 5 in West Germany. So I could go to 5 in West Germany and 2 in Italy, and have a little fragile hold on to the things. But I think I'm going to actually leave it at 4 in West Germany so that I have the option of kicking him back out of West Germany so that he doesn't touch France. Because if I controlled it, then I wouldn't actually be able to use Truman Doctrine against West Germany. So we're going to do that. And I think we're going to use the last point then to just to fortify Italy. Go ahead and fortify. Even though we know there's not going to be socialist governments and we know there's not going to be a coup, we're just going to, for safety, safety first, for the future. All right, so headline phase. Here it comes. We are headlining the Kremlin flu as per plan. And he is... okay, he has done European scoring, and I lost a little piece of the footage here. I will come and I'll have to explain to you what happened. So he tried to, because I didn't control West Germany, he tried to sneak in with a European domination, which I think is a fine move. And he made me deviate from the plan. Because, see, what I had to do, and you didn't see me do it because that's the piece of footage we lost, is instead of coupping Iraq as I had planned with my Kremlin flu, I had to take ops for influence because I needed to fill West Germany for the 1 point so that he wouldn't get domination. Now, that's great because that turned what would have been a 5 victory point scoring card for him, out of the 20 he needs to win the game, into a 0 point scoring card, which I think is a good use of, 1 influence point. And so then I went ahead and spread 1 point into Afghanistan, just to be, because it looks like he may get a coup in Iran after all, and I don't want to be eliminated from this region. So I'm just going to pop one over in Afghanistan, which is safer than Pakistan, because Pakistan, he could coup and lower the DEFCON at the same time. Afghanistan, he could coup at DEFCON 4, but he can't coup and lower the DEFCON at the same time. So that is what I did, and then his scoring card goes off, resulting in nothing. And then his special, he has to play another scoring card. So he had to just pop the Asian card out there for 1 point because, he sets up in North Korea. But now, he was probably planning on, he popped the European scoring card out in his headline. So he thought he was going to probably get 5 points right there. He probably didn't, he wasn't assured of it. He knew because, I could have played Marshall Plan or all sorts of things. But he had a chance to just get the 5 point thing, and it also gets rid of that scoring card, and then he has the whole turn. He's going to work on devastating us in Asia and dominating us, and there it all falls apart with the amazing power of getting lucky enough to draw Kremlin flu on turn 1. So that is, even though I'm not totally eliminating his Iran coup, I think this is still going well. Now, I could lower the DEFCON all the way to 3 right now with First Lightning, but I don't want to, because I would rather have the last coup in the turn than the second to last coup, as it were, and he's still not going to be expecting my ability to do that necessarily. So I'm going to hold that as an ace in the hole, and I'll probably try to just expand out of here. I realize I'm risking him realigning me in West Germany, which is the thing I said I didn't want to have happen. But it's a little bit less of a big deal. Now that the European scoring card is in the discard pile, is he really going to waste his time on a realignment? When he doesn't have anything he can really do about Italy. I mean, he'd have to be unbelievably lucky to get me out of Italy. So I think I'm just going to continue to spread out in the Middle East. That's how I'm thinking here. I'll probably save Nuclear Test Ban. With Nuclear Test Ban, I can do a lot of stuff. But that's my one big card, a big, hairy ops card. And so I think I'm going to save that. And I'm incidentally planning on saving Containment. So Containment is the card that, if I play it as the event, then all of the rest of the cards I play for the rest of the turn go up in value by 1 for more ops. And I'm thinking of saving that to be my next turn headline card. So I could play the Nuclear Test Ban to go just grab France and then you keep him out. But the problem is I haven't seen Suez Crisis. I haven't seen De Gaulle, and so I might be playing either of those 2 cards takes 2 points out of France, and one of them adds a point for him into France. So I'm not, and again, why should I play for Europe when the scoring card's in the discard pile? So I'm thinking of playing Warsaw Pact. Now, Warsaw Pact is his event. It's going to give him a bunch of points in Europe, but it's in Eastern Europe. And although that's, good-ish for him, it's much better for me to get this asterisk card out of the game permanently now. See, when I activate I'm forced to activate his event, but then it's going to eliminate it from the game permanently, because this is much better. Giving him some points now is much better than giving him the option to potentially remove me entirely from 4 countries in Eastern Europe later. So if I get a good, Lech Walesa solidarity thing going and I'm closing in on European control later, he could use this to just wipe me completely out of Eastern Europe. And I would rather that ability never happen ever in the game. And so we're going to play Warsaw Pact for our influence. And so we will go ahead and try to plug him up so he has a hard time getting to Pakistan if we've plugged up Afghanistan with control. We're going to go ahead and expand into Iraq so that even if he coups us out of Iran, we still touch Iran so we can get back in. And let's see, we got one more point coming to us. I guess we'll just harden back Iraq. That kind of threatens him a little bit. So we'll try to keep his mind off West Germany and get him doing his coup in Iraq, Iran, however you say it, whichever country it is. Iran is the country I mean. So here he comes. At Suez Crisis, he could have pooched us in France if we'd done it. He takes a very traditional coup in Iran, and he's moderately successful. Now it's time for First Lightning. It's hardly a guarantee, but he only has 1 point there. And so if we can roll even decently well, we will have couped him out and he won't be able to coup back because we're going to lower the DEFCON by 2 points with this thing. And so that will end the story of coups and battlegrounds, or really coups at all in the Middle East, for a while. So we would love a 5 or a 6 here, but hey, anything that knocks him in. Excellent. Look at that. A beautiful 5. So we got a good coup result, and we have now established for the rest of turn 1 a solid battleground presence in the Middle East. This is better than the U.S. can usually hope for. And the Middle East is the only major region in the early war region that has not been scored. So until turn 3, the only place that can even possibly score is the Middle East. So, this wasn't the original plan, but it's still going pretty well. Okay, the China card. If they toss out the China card in turn 1, they're usually that means the Soviets are feeling the pressure, because he would love to hold the China card for at least one more turn, because with the China card in my hand next turn, I might be able to hold on to, if I get them, decolonization and de-Stalinization, or I could hold on to one of them even against a blockade. So that gives me a lot of important options for keeping his good events away from it. Because those are the 2 cards I really want to, at almost any cost, maybe not at any cost, but at almost any cost, I want to keep those cards not only out of his hand, but from even going back into the discard pile before the turn 3 reshuffle happens. I want the cards to be reshuffled on turn 3 and then discard the good cards for him so that they won't be back until at least turn 7. So he has decided that I put so much pressure on his Asia situation that he felt compelled to go ahead and poke at, to pay the iron price, as you will, in Afghanistan. He paid 2 points of ops to go in there. Now, it looks like he just put 4 points of ops down, and he did, but that's because the China card, you get +1 op if you use all its points in Asia. So he is trying to keep Pakistan in play. Now, this may also be an attempt to get me to go into Pakistan so that he can then run the Indo-Pakistani war. And I hate to walk right into the Indo-Paki war, But hey, at least we've got it mitigated with, he'd need a 5 or a 6 because we've got Iran. And see, this at DEFCON 2, I really do want to grab Lebanon, and I want to get touching Thailand, and then I could control this. That's a pretty good, I feel like that's a pretty good set of things I wish I had one more point I could put into Afghanistan so that then he'd need a 6 with his war. This is at least going to make him run the war, and he only, we have a 2 in 3 chance of winning this war anyway. He's already got military ops, so it's not like we're giving, and see, we're threatening domination of the Middle East because we've got 2 countries, one of which is a battleground. He's got a presence, but it's not in the battleground. So if he's got the Middle East card, he's going to be really sweating. But he's also, if he doesn't, he's going to think we might be about to just pop off some extra Middle East points on him. And so we're creating a lot of pressure. We're racing toward Thailand. This will be his last chance to play, for huge effect. It's his last chance to really squash us with an Indo-Paki war. And if he doesn't, then we can fill in Afghanistan, and he's going to be really plugged up on the, in southern Asia, the west side of Asia is what it sort of looks like on this map. So, you can see I'm agonizing over this. I'm not just going over there and hitting the commit button. But there we go. And he is playing, U.S. Okay, so he's kind of giving up on, okay, that's not a bad card for him. But, yes, the threat of immediate Middle East domination popped that card out of his hand. So look at that. He went ahead and activated our event, which gives us control of Japan. Hey, it's like 3 free points in Japan, and it just kind of makes Asia look, because Asia's going to shuffle back in on turn 3, and it's going to be back into play. So he needed to play a big ops card to negate our possibility of just brutally dominating the Middle East on him, which is normally, the Middle East is honestly in this game normally kind of a Soviet playground. And so the Americans scoring domination is, it's embarrassing. I guess that's the only way to put it. It's embarrassing. You don't want to let them do it. But, so we've managed to keep just to be clear here, we've had decent luck with the cards. We had great luck. Our first hand was a monster hand. It wasn't monster in total ops, but it was some really good events to control at the beginning of the game. And it's given us kind of a little bit of the initiative early war, which the U.S. doesn't normally have. And so the key is to not let go of that. We don't want him to turn around and score a bunch of points on us. You look at the scoreboard, he is actually ahead on the scoreboard by 1 point. 1 point. 1 point. But we got to keep the pressure on. See, it's not that our scoreboard is so great, it's that our map position is very threatening to him, and we're going to try to establish some good things, make some good things happen. So, let's see. It is our turn ski, and I feel like I really want to fill in Afghanistan with a point, and I'd like to go to Thailand and go ahead and get, be dominating Asia. And so that would look like taking one of the last 3 op card I really want to play this turn. I want to save containment for next turn. So that'd be 2 in Thailand. And so now we would be, we'd be okay on the, Indo-Paki war. Now he needs a 6 to win an Indo-Paki war in Pakistan. On the other hand, it's only turn 4, and we'd have these 2 blibbly little 1s we'd have to play. And we'd have, so if he made some giant move on us somewhere, we wouldn't have much to resist with. So I'm, maybe not going to do, I might, do something. So capture Nazi sign. I'd like to play that for the event, assuming he doesn't space something. But I don't want to do it until I've filled Afghanistan up. keep reaching for the commit button and deciding I don't want to do it. Okay. I got a new idea. I'm not going to be able to do anything with the Truman Doctrine, the event, because he's not going to walk into it there. So I'm just going to use 1 point. Go ahead. There's no hurry in Thailand. Even if he played decolonization, I could squash it with Eastern European unrest before he could control it. And he's given me the China card, so he won't be back once I'm in. Not for a long time. So I'm imagining saving a 3-point op for the final phase and capture Nazi scientist in round 5, containment for next year, as it were. Okay, so he just has a 1-op. That's nice. And okay, since I played, that's the consequences of playing the Truman Doctrine card, is now that he sees it's out until turn 3, now he feels safe to start, irritating me in France, and plus he gets to touch Africa and all those irritating little... So he's playing a little domino effect and just kind of getting his little point in there now that he knows that I can't just reach out and wipe it out. But he didn't space anything, and so I think trading 1 op for 2 victory points is good. And here is Werner von Braun. We have captured Nazi scientist and advanced on the space track. And by the way, we are using the weird alternate space track, which I have deep reservations about. It's my least favorite part of all these new things. But anyway, we're using it. And so he has just played a little 1-op. So he was sitting there holding the Who Lost China card, which could have wiped my military ops and, probably cost me 2 points. But he had to give up the China card, or felt he had to. And so that just becomes a 1-op for him. And he is kind of sneaking into Israel there. That's fine. And that brings us to the great thing about being the U.S. is you do get the last play in each turn. So I saved a nice card in case he did something horrible. And I'm going to go ahead and use it to do what I wanted to do earlier, which is fill in Thailand, since he didn't make a bigger threat. And so one thing I could make a run for it in Egypt, which is he's got the Nasser card. If he gets the Nasser card next turn, which is there's a good chance he'll get it, it's kind of 50-50, then he would he just wipe me out. But if he doesn't, then I get to sneak over there into Libya, or he has to coup me in Egypt instead of Iran, which is kind of a waste because then when he gets Nasser later, it won't do any good. So I kind of like that. I don't have a lot else I really I don't want to put one in France just to have him then play de Gaulle or something and just insta blast it out of existence. I don't want to give him fodder for the future Suez Canal crisis. And, I already dominate Asia. I mean, I can, if I stuck one in India, it just gives him an easy target for an Indo-Pakistan war, and I don't want to let him into India. There's plenty of time to go to Laos, Cambodia if I care, and, it just doesn't excite me as much as I would love to. I think it's worth the risk to go ahead and make a run for it. Try to beat Nasser through Egypt. So I think that is what our play is going to be here. And that's the end of turn 1. We go to turn 2. DEFCON goes to 3. Everybody had enough military ops, so no one loses or gains any points. And that is where we are going to stop for today in the headline phase of turn 2. And so your homework for next week is tell me in the comments, look at my headline cards here, my turn 2 hand here, and tell me, what would you headline for turn 2, and what would your plan be for the turn? What are your general theories about any of these cards that we have? And then we can come back and see how I played it, because I've already played turn 2. So, anyway, It has been a fantastic time here in the land of the Cold War, and we will see you next time on Twilight Struggle Play the Experts.